Most traders say they accept risk. They say it confidently. They repeat it like a rule. I always risk only 1%. I know losses are part of the game. I'm comfortable taking losses. But the moment the trade actually goes against them, something changes. The stop gets moved. The position gets held just a little longer. The mind starts negotiating with the market. Maybe it just needs a little room. It'll come back. I'll close it if it breaks that level. And before the trader realizes it, a small planned loss turns into something much bigger. This is one of the most common psychological problems in trading. Not bad entries, not bad strategies, not bad analysis. The real problem is much simpler and much harder to admit. Most traders cannot emotionally accept being wrong, and when the mind refuses to accept a loss, it starts creating dangerous behavior to avoid it. This creates what I call the loss acceptance gap. And once a trader falls into this gap, discipline quietly disappears. Here is a core problem. Every trader says they understand losses, but understanding something intellectually and accepting it emotionally are two very different things. On paper, trading is simple. You define risk, you place a stop, you accept the outcome. If the trade works, great. If it doesn't, you move on. That's how trading systems are designed. But trading is not done on paper. It's done in real time, with real money, under emotional pressure. And when a trade starts moving against you, something uncomfortable happens. Your mind begins to resist the idea of being wrong, because accepting a losing trade does not feel like losing money. It feels like failing. It feels like making a mistake. It feels like proof that your analysis wasn't good enough, and the brain hates that feeling. So instead of accepting the loss, the mind tries to escape it. This is where the real problem begins. This behavior creates what I call the loss acceptance gap. The loss acceptance gap is the distance between the loss you plan to accept and the loss you emotionally tolerate once the trade is live. Every trader has this gap, but for struggling traders, the gap becomes very large. The loss acceptance gap usually unfolds in 4 stages. Stage 1, planned risk. Before the trade, everything feels controlled. You define your stop. You calculate position size. You believe you're comfortable with the risk. At this point, the loss feels theoretical. It's just a number. Stage 2, emotional discomfort. Once the trade goes against you, the loss becomes real. Your P and L turns red. The brain registers danger. Now the emotional response begins. Doubt appears. This might reverse. Maybe the stop is too tight. This setup usually works. The mind starts resisting the outcome. Stage 3, stop manipulation. Now discipline starts breaking. The trader moves the stop slightly, or removes it completely, or decides to manage it manually. This feels logical in the moment, but it's actually emotional avoidance. The trader is no longer following the plan. They are negotiating with reality. Stage 4, loss escalation. Eventually, the loss becomes larger than originally planned. Now the trader feels trapped. Closing the trade feels even worse, so they hold longer. Hope replaces structure, and what was supposed to be a small controlled loss becomes a damaging one. This entire cycle happens because the trader could not emotionally accept the original loss. You see this pattern everywhere in trading. A trader enters a breakout. The trade immediately stalls. Price starts drifting back toward the stop. Instead of accepting the loss, the trader thinks, it's just a fake move. I'll give it a little room. The stop moves. 10 minutes later, the loss is double. Another trader buys a pullback. The market continues falling. The stop is close. The trader hesitates. I'll close it if it breaks lower. But when it breaks lower, the trader freezes. Now the loss feels painful. Closing it feels like defeat. So they wait, and the loss grows. Another trader experiences 3 losses in a row. The 4th trade starts failing, and now the mind refuses to accept another loss. This one has to work. So the stop disappears completely. The trader is no longer trading a setup. They are protecting their ego. These behaviors are not rare. They are extremely common, and most traders don't even realize they are doing it. The reason this happens is deeply psychological. The human brain is wired to avoid pain. In trading, a loss triggers several uncomfortable emotions at the same time. There is financial pain, there is ego damage, there is self-doubt, there is fear of being wrong, and there is the pressure of needing to recover the loss. So the mind does something subtle. It tries to delay the emotional pain. Moving the stop does not fix the trade, but it delays the moment of accepting failure. Holding longer does not improve the setup, but it postpones the decision. In other words, the trader is not managing risk anymore. They are managing their emotions. And emotional management almost always leads to worse decisions, because the market does not care about emotional comfort. It only responds to probability. Professional traders think about losses very differently. To an amateur trader, a losing trade feels like personal failure. To a professional trader, a losing trade is simply part of statistical distribution. A professional trader understands something most beginners struggle to accept. Losses are not the enemy. Uncontrolled losses are. Professionals expect losses. They plan for them. They respect them. Because every controlled loss keeps the account stable. And stability is what allows compounding to happen over time. Amateur traders chase the opposite experience. They want the emotional satisfaction of being right. They want trades that feel good. They want validation. But trading is not a validation business. It is a probability business. And probability includes losses. Lots of them. If you want to close the loss acceptance gap, you need a simple rule. I call it the pre-commitment rule. The pre-commitment rule has 3 steps. Step 1. Define the loss. Before the trade. Before entering any trade, clearly define the exact point where the idea is invalid. Not where you feel uncomfortable. Where the trade thesis is wrong. Once that level is set, it becomes non-negotiable. Step 2. Accept the loss before entering. Ask yourself one question before clicking the order. If this trade hits my stop, will I close it immediately? If the answer is no, the position size is too large. Reduce the size until the loss feels emotionally manageable. Step 3. Remove decision-making after entry. Once the trade is live, the stop is not a discussion. It is a rule. No adjustments, no negotiation, no emotional intervention. Your job is not to protect your ego. Your job is to protect your capital. This simple process removes the moment where most traders break discipline. The real goal in trading is not avoiding losses. That is impossible. The real goal is controlling them consistently. A trader who can take small losses calmly stays in the game. A trader who refuses to accept losses eventually destroys their account. Not in one dramatic moment, but through dozens of small emotional decisions. Trading careers are built on stability, on discipline, on accepting outcomes without emotional resistance. Because once you can accept losses, something interesting happens. Your mind becomes calmer, your decisions become clearer, your execution becomes more consistent, and consistency is where compounding begins. In trading, the biggest danger is not losing money. It's refusing to accept that losses are part of the business. Every trader wants to feel confident when the trade works. But the real test of discipline appears when the trade fails. Because the trader who survives long enough to succeed is not the one who avoids losses. It is the one who can accept them quickly, control them, and move on. In trading, survival is not built through perfect trades. It is built through controlled mistakes. And the trader who learns to accept small losses is the one who stays in the game long enough to eventually win.